going to do is connect all of the emitters of each of the transistors, which you can see are connected all together here. Okay, we're going to connect those to ground. Okay, so all four of these transistors connect to ground. So let's go ahead and do that. On our diagram, we can see the emitters right here, these four. And assuming you haven't cut the legs off, which we shouldn't have done yet, we can simply bend the legs over. So we can bend the leg, say, from here to here, bend this leg down. So bend this leg down. So we could do that. If you've cut yours off, then you'll need to use wire to solder. And what I would do is, if you cut them off, is to just get a piece of wire that's as long from here to here, tack one end of it down here, tack the other end of it down here, or tack it as you go. But I would just use one solid piece of wire for that. And then finally, we would need to get a jumper wire to connect from here to ground. So we can take a wire, jumper wire we'll use for this, and we'll just kind of bring it over to that pin right there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and demo that right now. We'll connect all of these emitters and then get a jumper wire here to here. Okay, so get my board up. All right, let's get the camera a little closer here so we can see. Here's the one leg. So I'm going to bend that down. Looks like that's about perfect. And just make sure that the only thing that are touching one another are the emitters. Okay, this last one I'm just going to stop because we're going to not need that. Okay, so I have this one going to this one, going to this emitter, and finally to that emitter. So we'll go ahead and get those soldered on. All right. Okay, first one. Get that back down to where it needs to be. And the last one right here. Okay, so now all those emitters are connected. Connection then will be to connect those emitters up to the ground. Okay, so here's my 4 emitters. We're going to connect it to ground, which is somewhere right around in here. If you have your 30 gauge wire or something that'll fit through one of those holes, it really doesn't matter. As you flip the board over, find that ground, which is right here, and then through this hole, just stick the wire so that you can see and give visual verification as to where you're going. Okay, because this is where we want to get soldered to. All right, so my ground is right there. And so I am going to just put a little tiny bit of solder on that spot. Of course, I'm going to remove that wire here first, but get that out. And just make sure that you get the right one. Okay, so I added a little solder to it. If you want to just make sure that you got the right one, go ahead and look, and you can see that there should be some solder in there right now, which there is. Okay, and then we're going to take our jumper wire. We just need to go from here to here, so it's going to be relatively short. So you're going to get that stripped. You might need to make this one a little long, just long enough for you to hang on to the thing. But okay, and we're going to go ahead and tack one end of it down. Switch hands. Okay, I'm going to tack one end of it down right here. Okay, and the other end, I'm going to just put a little. What happened? I must not have had it soldered in there very well. Let's go back and hit that again. All right, better. Okay, I'm going to put just a little bit of solder then on this other end. And I know where I need it to go. I need it to go onto that emitter line. So we already have all 4 of those connected. Just find a spot. All right, and yep, it's on there. Okay, so I am connected now. All of my emitters right through here are now connected to ground. Right, and looking at the schematic diagram, what you can see here is that each of the collectors of each of the transistors, those all go off to layers that are going to be on the cube portion. So we have this transistor, which collector will go to the bottom layer. This one's going to go to the next one up. This one's going to go to the next one up, and this collector is going to go to the very top layer. To prepare for that, what we're going to do, because the collectors, they're right here, we're going to make it so that the pad right next to it is connected to the collector. That way we can just easily run a wire from here up to the layers that'll be on our cube as we put it in. Okay. So in doing that, all I'm going to do to prepare for this next step is to just take my leads and bend them right over to the pad that's right next to it this way. And then I'm just going to take my diagonal cutters and snip it off right at the edge of that second pad. And then I'll be easily able to solder that right to the pad. Okay. It didn't look like sticking to the pad, but I think make sure you get your tip wedged in there so that the pad's heating up enough for solder to stick to it. Okay. All right, and that looks like that should be good. You might just move them around with your finger just to make sure that it did get soldered to that pad. I'm just gonna re-tack that one more. Okay. All right, and that's good. And if you look on this side, you might see a little bit of solder coming through next to each of the collectors. And that's okay if you do.